Through the white thunderstorms, we ride on the back of our dark cars in a fearless flight. Sons of gold, hearts made of fire, conquering lands, fueling our desires. Roaring engines and lightning in our eyes. United we stand, our strength won't compromise. From the east to the west, we stand on the road. We're the Valhalla warriors, never feel alone. Landscapes of freedom, beneath open skies, a promised land where our spirits arise. We battle the storms, the tides of the sea. Now we've arrived in the land we're meant to be.
He doesn't stay stuck in the red pill. He takes what he finds useful, and then he moves. Hey, you. Wake up. You there? You there? All right, cool. Listen up. I'm going to make this simple for you. Some of y'all are making the red pill like a destination. In actuality, it's a gas station. You pull in, you fill up, you get what you need, and then you get back on your journey. But some of y'all are pulling in, parking at the pump, and then bitching about the price of gas.
Oh, women are hypergamous.
No shit.
Oh, society is so unfair.
Who fucking who? So what are you gonna do? Sit here and cry forever? See, a man with a dominant masculine presence, he doesn't stay stuck in the red pill. He takes what he finds useful, and then he moves on. He doesn't waste time crying about female nature. He becomes so dominant that it doesn't even matter. But if you're bitching about the same shit year after year, you're not red-pilled. You're bitter. Dominance is action. Masculinity is movement. Sitting around and complaining, well, that's feminine energy. So ask yourself, are you just another dude parked at the gas station, bitching about the price of gas? Or are you on your journey, leaving weak men behind?
You ever notice how a lot of these red pill content creators these days seem to be pushing outrage clickbait? They do it for clicks, views, algorithms. It's a business model built on keeping men angry. They tell you that women are the problem, that society is against you, that hypergamy is the reason why you're broke, why you're single, and why you're miserable. And yeah, there's some truth in what they say. But the problem is, well, that's where they stop. It seems like a lot of these red pill content creators these days are not about building men up. They just keep them locked in this cycle of resentment, and that's where they fail. See, Thor laid out 7 skills that makes a man with a dominant masculine presence. And he's not just some dude ranting on the internet, but a man who actually lived what he teaches. Something a lot of these alpha keyboard warriors can't claim. His framework isn't about endless blame games. It's about mastery. It's about becoming undeniable. Pretty much every manosphere life coach will tell you that hitting the gym for the sake of women, get ripped, get girls, end of story. But physicality isn't about lifting weights to impress women. It's about functional strength, health, capability, being a man who can move, fight, and endure. A man whose body is a tool, not just an accessory for Instagram flexing. When you master physicality, you just don't look strong. You are strong. And you'll hear something about frame in almost every red pill guy ranting out there. But most of them can't even hold their emotions in check. They rage at women. They get triggered by TikTok videos. They tell men to avoid relationships entirely out of fear. That's not a masculine psychology. That's emotional fragility. Masculine psychology is about emotional durability, competence, and a mindset that refuses to be shaken. It's not about avoiding women. It's about commanding yourself first so that you can handle any situation without losing your cool. And you hear some guys out there tell you to act high value. What? Fake it till you make it? You see, presence isn't a script. It's who you are when the cameras are off. It's how you walk into a room, how you command attention without having to peacock, or try too hard. It's about congruence, your internal state matching your external actions. That's what makes people respect you. And I don't know how many times you guys have heard this. Something along the lines that women are the problem. Okay, what's the solution? Avoid them? Pay for OnlyFans? Go monk mode? Those aren't solutions. Those are cop-outs. A man with problem-solving skills sees obstacles and finds a way through. He doesn't get stuck in the loop of women don't respect men anymore. He figures out what works and adapts. If a woman is difficult, he either corrects it or he walks away. No whining necessary. And sure, money is important, no question. But too many guys chase wealth for status alone, to get back at the woman or prove something to some other man. That's not prosperity. That's insecurity. Prosperity is about abundance in all areas. It's financial, sure, but it's also in relationships, health, opportunities. It's being the man who creates wealth and bring others up with him, not just flashing it on social media. And a lot of these alpha wolf wannabe tough guys out there define power as dominating women, making them submit, controlling their every move. That's not real power. That's fear disguised as masculinity. See, true power is about influence, being able to shape reality. It's the force of your will, your decisions, and your ability to lead, not just over women, but in business, in your family, shit, in your own damn life. It's about making things happen, not just talking about how unfair the world is. You'll hear some of these creators out there say, never love a woman, that love is weakness. That's not strength. That's trauma. A dominant masculine presence is both passionate and compassionate. A man who feels deeply, but is ruled by logic, not emotion. He doesn't shut off his heart out of fear of getting hurt. He just doesn't let it control him. Men are starving for leadership. They want direction, not just more reason to be pissed off. That's why Thor's 7 skills are so powerful, because they actually build men up. They don't leave them stuck in the loop of blaming women, avoiding relationships, or trying to act high value. They make you undeniable. So the question is, are you here to complain, or are you here to master yourself?
Yeah. Are you guys here to complain, or are you here to master yourself? That's a good question. What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing?
I'm here to commiserate with all you guys.
Oh, you're one of those. Great.
Yeah, I just like to wallow in self-pity, and I just want to get that validation from that you guys are also feeling the same. You know,
Precisely. It'll help me.
Oh, so you guys wanted to bring out your vaginas today. That's great.
I just want to emote, talk about my feelings.
Oh, you make me feel a certain way. You know that? You need to stop.
Did you guys take your gay pill today or something? Is that what you guys did?
It's not the red pill.
I was trying to out gay HUDs.
You can't out gay HUDs. That's
It's
impossible.
a little hard.
I mean, you don't go to gay clubs.
Oh, I thought we were doing
No.
Oyster Bar later.
No,
Doing a little-
no.
You got music? Then I'll do my. Okay.
That's where we stop.
Glenn, I love that analogy. When you first said it to me the other day with the idea for this show, there's nothing more accurate than red pill really being like a gas station. It is a gas station. Buy, refuel, and then continue on the journey of life. You don't forget what you learn there, but it gives you the strength and skills to continue to elevate your life.
You know, like any gas station, you go there to fuel up, you get what you need, and then you get back on the road and you go on your journey. You reach your goals. It's always there for you to fuel up when you need it, but you don't live there. You don't make that your destination. You don't camp out outside the gas station and live there.
Unless it's a Buc-ee's. Apparently Buc-ee's is pretty awesome, and they have everything there. I guess one of the Buckies, they even have concerts and stuff. I just found that
Really?
out today. Yeah.
Okay, maybe that exception. But we don't have any. There's no Red Pill concerts. Okay.
That's why I refer to it as Bucky's as the white trash Walmart.
I thought Walmart was the white trash Walmart.
Evidently, Bucky's is what they're saying. So
Okay.
I hate it when they're out of Cheez-It and Slim Jim. It's like, I want my Slim Jim.
Slim
We got
Jim's my
some in the
favorite.
cupboard already. We got
See, this is
some.
a good microcosm because, like, well, we might be able to get back on track. That right there is a good example of how a lot of guys will get sidetracked on the metaphor and then spurg out endlessly,
Yeah.
right? It's just like because Paul shifted away from what the metaphor actually was to start talking about literal things. And I'm not knocking you, Paul. Don't get it twisted. It's like this is something we always get back on track on this show and in this group. But you see a lot of guys sitting around the gas station just shooting the shit like that endlessly.
You know, it's like it seems like today guys are just so focused on staying in the space that they don't go on dates. They don't try to interact with women. They say they're about leveling up and getting better, but when you really analyze it, like, are they any better than when they were when they first got here?
Isn't that just the?
So, do you know
basic
why they
measure?
do that? Do you know why they stay there?
Because
It's
it's
to-
comfortable.
Yeah, it creates a sense of belonging for them,
Yep.
and it's comfortable.
Yeah, feels good.
Red pill.
That's why one of the things I ask
I don't
guys
even
is
think that's
like,
red pill
are
adjacent
you are you actually getting better or do you just feel better? There's a difference, right? Women
Yep.
feel better all the time. Guys feel better all the time. Crying makes you feel better, but doesn't get
Anger.
anything done.
Anger.
Well, there's not many action. They kind of get stuck in that anger phase, right?
I think
And-
that can be useful though.
Staying in the anger phase is useful.
Can be, absolutely. You have to shift it into obsession. Once you can get some obsession out of it, it's quite a motivator.
Well, that turns it into a passion, and
Yeah,
then you're also
exactly.
using that as a motivator,
Yeah.
and then there's an action there.
There is.
Yeah,
I'm
your
talking about the
emotions
guys that are not
emotions give you
taking any
energy.
actions.
So
Yeah, your emotion
mostly
gives you
using it for-
energy. It gives you
Yeah.
focus if
So
you use
using
it
for
correctly.
entertainment- Using it for entertainment, or the red pill has a tendency to turn black or purple, and a lot of guys get hung up there, and it becomes what do we call them? Is it the
Masturbators.
kind of
Red pill
kind of
masturbators.
starts heading black pill in a way. I mean, some of what we're going to bitch about is going to sound black pill, but it's rather cathartic because sometimes on Saturday morning cartoons we just like to bitch.
You know, do you guys see that a lot of it sometimes can be like these guys get addicted to being right about women instead of being great?
Sign
As
language in
men.
reverse, right?
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, this girl's 304. See, proved it, but okay, so you're right, but did you level up? Have you improved from
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? Like, so you may be right about them, but you are still the same when you got here.
Does
You
it
know, you
did
just-
it help you get laid, or are you still at home in your mom's basement bitching about women?
Exactly. And it's like and this is more at the creators rather than because the creators end up creating the environment for the space, for the guys in the space. So if the creators are not, and this is more of a challenge to the creators, like, hey, are you, besides just giving them the data, are you giving them tools to improve, right? A prescription, even though they say the red pill not about prescriptions. We know that the red pill is about prescriptions, individually speaking. Content creators and influencers do give out their own prescriptions. But are you giving out useful prescriptions, or are you just like creating a bitch fest?
Yeah. We'll see a lot of guys that are lacking, they will latch on to anything to cope. That is a fact, right? The 80-20 rule. And the key
Yep.
thing is, like, I use this analogy with guys that would come into the Fresh and Fit Discord all the time. I'd be like, Fresh and Fit is the Matrix, taking the red pill analogy to its fullest. I'm like, welcome to the Nebuchadnezzar. We're going to give you some gruel and we're going to teach you some kung fu. And then you're going to be able to go out into the world and have a better time because you actually know what the reality is now. But you need to get away from, the Matrix part of it, in the metaphor is that, yeah, that's a show where they talk about real things and it's a representation, but it's not the full picture.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And it's like, you know, staying in the anger phase forever just turns to bitterness, right?
Yeah.
And that having that resentment and bitterness, your goal may be to get with women or have a relationship, but if you allow that bitterness to fester, then you become more like a repellent rather than
Oh, yeah.
anything that's attractive to women. You don't attract women, you repel them because you're just like spewing out data. Well, women are hypergamous, and 80% of women initiate divorce. And did you know if a guy gets a divorce or loses his job, the clock's ticking, and he has like about 6 months before he's ass out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like it's
pretty valid stuff though.
And I'm not taking away the validity of knowing the knowledge, but it's like, what do you do with it? What are you doing with that knowledge? Are you just like, are you just reciting it, regurgitating it over and over again?
There is a tendency to do that.
And that's what we're talking
And
about.
based on personal experience, people take that very personally. Well, in my experience, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. The red pill knowledge just seems like it's not a way of life. Apraxeology is not a way of life. It's just information. If you live it and try to react to it, you're not being dominant, you're being reactionary.
So you think for the creators it's a way of life?
I think for the creators, there's,
or is it for, like, say, the Christian right, the guys that want to talk about this sort of thing, like on The View, or is it not The View? What the hell is it? Some of the whatever, some of these Christian podcasts where it's like, oh, this is a movement, it's a philosophy. They're the ones that really get at us as like, you're the bad guy. How much of that, Glenn, I can't see the comments, but how much of that is actually just trying to boost watch hours and get eyeballs on them as a creator versus, and then their actual viewers, is it entertainment for them, or are they actually getting gainful knowledge by the description? Who was it that's on is it The Wire?
Daily Wire?
Yeah, that comes on and says, they want us as a bad guy. And now they're starting to come back around and talk, a philosophy. What's a philosophy? They do all that sort of stuff.
Well, that was we just saw that
creators. How much is that to get watch hours? How much is that to just get a bad guy for the logarithm for the super chats and all that sort of thing?
I think it's a little bit of mixture of both, right? Because some of the content creators are pretty lazy about it, right? So they just, it's like the low hanging fruit. So they'll capitalize on the low hanging fruit.
And what would be like the low hanging fruit? A creator that,
I love this comment.
Watch hours.
What do you guys think? Is this like the male version of The View?
HUDs, like low hanging tea bags, or they need a bad guy to get paid, obviously.
Well, yeah. And when we have creators that say very triggerish things just to get a rise, just to get a reaction, but not really expand upon the thought, where they're like, I'll just use what Myron said.
Let me say this: it's the only place you can get paid seeking attention.
Yeah, as a guy.
External validation.
Yep. Oh, Caucasian, I see you in there. So it kind of makes me wonder, you guys, like the creators in the space, in the men's help space or manosphere, whatever you want to call it, are they doing a disservice to their audience by cultivating this environment where it's just like hopelessness? They take the red pill content, they claim themselves to be red pill, but then they just like create this environment where guys could just bitch.
Here's the problem, Glenn. If you help people fix themselves, they don't need you.
That's what I'm so glad you got that, Wraith, because that's exactly where I was leaning towards.
That's
once guys start solving their own problems, then they stop coming around.
That's what I see on like MGTOW channels, like Better Bachelor and stuff like that. The whole message is why you should give up on women and why women, the juice isn't worth the squeeze and you're wasting your time. So you might as well just hang out on my channel and commiserate with me, right? Like that's how you keep that viewership coming in, as opposed to helping them and then they move on. You know, you don't keep an audience that way.
Paul, like I've had 2 conversations with TFM, right? Recently.
Mm-hmm.
And both conversations ended with him saying, look, if guys actually decided to get together and actually make some changes and demand, push for some changes and demand some changes societal wise, he's like, I will be right there fighting with you.
Female communitarian bullshit.
He's like, I'll pack up my doll, I'll give women a try.
Oh yeah, if the brave ones will do it first, I'll go. Fucking coward.
You know what though? They've done that before. I don't know if any of you guys know
the men's rights movement.
I don't know if you guys know who Rule Zero Dad is. He talks about it a lot. Like in the was it the late 1990s, there was this Million Man March on Washington. It was all for men's rights, and it didn't go fucking anywhere.
No,
nothing happened.
I think the best thing that you can do is for you to be the leader of your own life, which then will make you a leader of your peers around you. And that's the best you can do. We're not like girls. We don't do like the pussy hat marches and stuff like that and get all riled up and really make a scene to the point that they actually make any types of changes. You need to be a leader in your own life. Then that's what, the essential skills really is all about. And that's what is tough with the content that's out there, is because there's not content out there, or not a lot of it, that really is teaching men how to live with that, dominant masculine presence, how to be a leader, how to use the information in real life core examples of how you can apply it and then continue to grow. I think that's missing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there's like 3 steps. If once you get this information, or once you give this information, what needs to happen? Like step 1, you need to shut the fuck up and start moving. All right. No one respects a man that's just going to be complaining and bitching about everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but red pill is a really exciting bit of information because you've been lied to so much, and particularly today, in the way that the last 50 to 70 years you've been pretty much pre-programmed, and so when you learn this, it's exciting. It actually produces results. You get actual results. There's really good stuff that comes out of there on behavior, traits and behaviors, and you want to share it. I mean, you come out of it in some form. Most guys get there. What is it? A large percentage come there out of trauma because something hurt them, emotionally or physically, or they want to learn how to sleep with women, because how do I get that? I can't get past. I'm awkward. I'm socially awkward. And they look to the guys that have been in the red pill because they actually have very practical information to give that works really well. But since they came out of trauma, there's also, they try to share it with other people. There's a bit of grieving when you leave that blue pill behind, by the way.
Well, yeah, you have to let that die.
Stages, and until you get to acceptance, once you get past the acceptance where you can accept female nature as it is without flipping out or anything like that, and then you move to the next stages, where you can come back to it, which is your fuel, right? And then the next step in there is to really focus on achieving enlightened self-interest. That's where you would go. And that's really powerful because that gives you a whole lot of leverage socially and societally. I think that's a word. And if you don't know what enlightened self-interest is, please look it up on Google and you will find something super interesting about, you're actually putting those statistics, all that stuff, you're actually placing it into an action category where you're doing something about it. And physicality is one piece of it. That changes your presence, as we talked about. And physicality is a big part of it, taking that action.
Yeah. I think so there's, like I said, there's 3 steps. You got to shut the fuck up and start moving. No one respects a man that's bitching.
Right.
Number 2, develop your body, your mind, and your mission. Become the kind of guy who doesn't need the game. He is the game.
Yeah.
He embodies it. And then test yourself. Go out into the world and sharpen your experiences through real experiences. Like sharpen your presence through real experiences, not just theories. Don't just theorize. Just don't know all the data. put it into action. Because if content creators, if the content creators are not fostering that type of motivation to these guys, and they're just creating this echo chamber of bitching, well, then we're not helping them.
But the issue is everything you just said has nothing to do with women.
I know, it exactly has nothing to do with women.
You know,
but they want to make it about him.
Well, knowing what hypergamy is and stuff doesn't make you a better man. It doesn't make you more masculine. It doesn't do any of that. It just tells you
that to a woman.
It gives you an excuse to not
You already know.
date women. That's why you have black pill and men going their own way. And men going their own way is just one step away from being black pill. And
Is that one step away from being gay?
Hud's here. We can ask him. But,
No, it's nothing to do with being gay. What the hell are you talking about? But no, you're right. It's just so dumb. It's so dumb. It's like, okay, now I have all the information. These guys, it's like they get all the information, and it's like because they now have all the information, they expect that girl or whatever or that success to just appear at their door.
But what's the other side of that, though? I mean, you've seen this. You've been in these forums and you've been in the groups and everything. Guy goes out and he starts getting laid, lays 8-10 women, and then that dissolves his opinion of women too. Yeah, it's either they're either harpies or hoes. There's no in between.
Yeah,
and it can be tough to break out of that mindset. I've seen many guys who kind of like fall to that place, and it's just it's a shame. And I think that really just like looking at that enlightened self-interest and like by doing good, like again the whole karma and everything, and just following the path of righteousness, it's not pushed anymore, and I don't really know why. The only one right now out of the creators that I'm watching, I really like MTR. I don't know if you guys watch him at all, but he really does encourage. Well, first off, it's to make money with his community and whatnot, but he really pushes everybody to level up and come together. And the positivity that I see there in pointing to that right path, like doing good for yourself and also doing good for others, will lead to good results all the way around. I just don't see it anywhere else. And yeah, I think it's just like a cash grab to keep you in a cycle loop. And I don't know, there's just too much with this that I have so many thoughts in my head.
It does lean a lot on the emotion and making sure that you guys are emotionally charged, and you're angry. Because if you're
emotionally charged in the right direction, I think that's
but what it is they don't give you the right direction. A lot of these creators, they just keep you emotionally charged and keep you there, like fired up. Because as long as they're still saying those talking points and those zingers that get people's attention, they're still going to get support. That guy knows what I'm talking about. That guy, he's been there. He knows what my experience is, and they're like Absaloms. If you don't know the story about Absalom was one of King David's sons, right? And Absalom was the guy that tried to overthrow King David. He tried to turn the people against him. Like he would stand out there outside the city gates when everybody was coming and going from seeing the king to weigh in on, their civil disputes. And like the people that the king didn't rule in their favor. Absalom would be like, hey, you know what? If I was your king, I would have ruled in your favor. If I was your king, like they're doing this. If I would kind of giving them, I know what you're going through, bro. I know how it is. Like I could speak for you, and
like Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah. And so the Absalom got all these people behind him, and he tried to overthrow King David and throw him out of the kingdom. Right. He didn't end up winning. He ended up getting killed himself. But that was the mindset, and it seems like that's what a lot of these guys are doing. They're great at creating this group, this community, but it's just a community of guys jerking off to their victimhood rather than, hey, get your shit together. We're moving forward. This is the step. This is how we're going to move forward, guys. These are the steps we're going to take to move forward and get past this shit.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
the issue.
basically.
Go ahead.
It's basically more fancy analysis paralysis. They basically created another excuse so that way they can sit there and go over the data. And going back to the Rule Zero episode that was done earlier today, one of the points that came up was like, you know, what they're talking about is like whether or not you should talk about politics on the date. And it's just like, yeah, you shouldn't be bringing it up. But the thing is, if she brings it up, you can talk about anything if you take that accountability to navigate the conversation. Right? Once again, you have to control the flow of the conversation, lead yourself first. But a lot of guys get hung up on this analysis paralysis and they're scared to make mistakes. They're cowards. It's pure and simple. They're too cowardly to go out and do something about it, even when they find the info. I coach guys and they struggle with this too. And I have to yell at them sometimes. You know, yo, listen to your mentor. You got a mentor to tell you what tough decisions you need to make. And now you're dismissing him telling you, hey, these friends are giving shit to your girl and they're not really your friends. You need to get rid of these guys. They're wasting your time. And no, it's all good. I can handle it. No, you need to listen to your mentor and stop, procrastinating and analyzing the situation like, hey, I can do this. I got this, man. No, that's what you have real friends for. They'll tell you when you're slipping up and they will push you forward. Hey, we need to get on the road. Stop hanging around the gas station. Let's hit the road. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well,
And I've seen that even myself.
I would ask the question. I think that there's a bit of ego involved with that too. Once you have some of this knowledge and you want to spread it around, guys, first of all, don't spread it to women. They're already red pilled. Don't do that.
They're more red pilled than you.
As far as the ego is concerned, isn't it? I mean, I've had clients and I've had people on the show where the ego gets involved and it's like they're asking you for advice, yet when you give it based on experience, even whether it's an LTR or it's a short-term relationship or whatever it is, even DMP, and they'll come back and they say, oh, I tried that. It didn't work. Okay, tell me about it. A lot of times they can't tell you about it because they just been using it for entertainment, or you'll even be speaking with them. And that's why I don't offer advice just openly trying to be suggested to friends, because even though they might be a friend, some of them just want to be the guy that nothing ever works for. And it kind of soothes their ego personally. It's like a way to vent.
What's a way to be a victim?
It's like my ego, I'm just that kind of person where nothing actually works for me. And I've seen a percentage of them that are like that. I mean, you do more coaching than I do. Have you seen anything like that? Is that a cope?
It is.
It's not even a cope, because if you look up what cope means, it means to efficiently and effectively deal with hard issues emotionally. And I don't know if that's a cope or not. You know,
it's ego defense. It's an excuse.
It is an excuse.
Their ego is so hurt. If they admit that, oh, the reason why they don't get shit in life is because they aren't proactive enough, and that they don't try to capitalize on as many opportunities, or they did and it failed. But instead of learning what they did wrong and doing better, or switching gears, changing directions, doing something, anything, they give up, and then they fall into that cope mentality where any excuse will do. And it's all in defense of the ego. Well, if I have to admit that I'm the one that fucked up and take accountability, now all of a sudden my ego's hurt, it's bruised. Oh shit, he's calling me weak.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because like when I do coaching, it seems like the thing that guys want the most in coaching is accountability. But then when I give it to them, they never come back. Like after the second one, you know, like, so we do the first, like, you know, consult, and okay, we map out a plan. We see what their goals are. All right, we see what they want to be. Like this, we see where they are and we see where they want to end up. All right, so then, you know, I'll give them some plan of attacks. All right, so like in the next 2 weeks, how about you do X, Y, and Z, right? Just here's your task, here's X, Y, and Z, you know, and 2 weeks later, they'll come back. I'm like, hey, so how's it going? How's the last 2 weeks? Everything good? Yeah, everything's great, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, how was the goal? Did you hit it?
You know, what did you learn about the process? Oh man, see, my mom's dog died, and it
Yeah.
died because of chicken noodle soup. Ate some chicken noodle soup, not the Campbell's kind, but like the knockoff version. And then I had to get rid of all the chicken noodle soup in my house, and then I had to go by to the store and go get some new chicken noodles. It's like they give you this ridiculous excuse why they couldn't do what they wanted to do, what they tell you they want to do. Like they don't make it a priority, and that's where it seems like, well,
a lot of these guys, they might buy our books, they might buy our courses, they might hire us as coaches. And a lot of the time, them just spending that money on those items makes them feel like they've done something.
Exactly.
Right? And because what I find with coaching, there's a small percentage of guys who are even willing to take that action to do coaching. But you'll find that the guys that are successful, they have 4 qualities, right? They're committed. They're playing to win. They're not playing to not lose. They're resourceful, right? Like time, energy, money, like they figure it out and they make it happen. They don't come up with excuses every week. They're decisive, right? They realize, hey, what I've been doing isn't working. I know I need professional help. I'm going to go with it and run with it, right? They decide on that right there. They don't hem and haw about it. And then they're coachable, right? Like you tell them to do something. You're like a fucking doctor, right? If your arm's broken, we're going to set the bone. Okay. Yeah. I don't want any arguments about it. And so they do what you tell them to do and they find success, but you'll find that most guys, even when they hire you as a coach, you'll tell them, you'll give them homework every week. You'll give them challenges. You'll say, hey, I want you to do X, Y, and Z, try this out. And then when they come back, it's fucking excuses. Oh, I couldn't do that because of this and blah, blah, blah. I didn't have the opportunity or I didn't feel like it or whatever. And then they don't get results. It's like you only get what you put into it.
And then those guys will then move to somebody who's going to either prop them up or make them feel good or just gives them some type of new area or some new type of adventure to go on. They never want to finish the work that they actually start. It's crazy.
Yeah. And notice how both ways it goes that Thor mentioned before, the black pill or the purple pill, is that both of them talk shit about the red pill. The one that told him the truth in the first place actually gave it to him raw. And what do? They fall back to their same coping strategy, their own ego defense. They lob ad hominem attacks at the other content creators that are getting results for people, that are losing audience due to that. Right, that's one of the things that MLD always jokingly complains about. He's just like, yeah, I'm so good at my job, like I keep losing clients because I help them out and then they never need to come back. And just like, and that's how you know MLD's doing it differently, is that guys like HUDs, guys like me, we moved on. We're not necessarily in there anymore, but we don't throw shade. We don't throw disrespect. We give honor and homage to the people that gave us the information to get going, to get off the fucking, ass and get on the bike and leave the fucking gas station. But
yeah,
once
I
again,
have to say,
a lot of guys like to stay in that churn.
I have to say it's been unbelievable for me when I look at my experience. And even when I started my first men's group, first class, some of those guys, they moved on with me. Some of those guys did not. And it's really interesting to see those stages of life. And you're working to get a higher seat or a better seat at the table. But it's funny just seeing through all these different journeys, the ones that fall off and the ones that keep moving on. And that's why I love and incredibly honored to be around men like you guys. Like these are people that I wouldn't be able to have such great relationships with if I was still stuck on those lower levels.
Yeah, something that Charles said, like what makes MLD different is that he says he loses clients. And that's because so when I was a personal trainer, like I would tell everybody, like, look, I will give you 3 months. I will train you for 3 months. After that, I am dropping you. I am not making you a lifetime client. like a lot of trainers do. A lot of trainers are like, why would you do that? Because if I keep you as a lifetime client, then I suck as a trainer. I haven't taught you anything. I'm making you completely codependent upon me rather than being independent on yourself. And I think that's what separates a dominant masculine presence from just consuming data, right? A dominant masculine presence tells you, like, look, it's about the action. Okay, so now you got the information.
like the Dom Mass Presence guy speaks red pill. He understands the talking points, but he doesn't live there. He understands what is the truth, but he doesn't dwell on it. He moves forward, and then he builds his life based off of the information that he has. You know, he takes action from it. He doesn't, you know, just bitch about things. You know, women respect guys that are dominant and they take action, right? They like guys that know what they're doing, that they're confident. Okay, cool. I'm moving on. Boom. I'm problem solving. Okay, this is a problem. Cool. This is how I'm gonna problem solve this issue so that this issue is not my problem. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Here's the actions that I'm gonna take to get there.
Yeah, I tell guys I don't want to be your guru. I just want to get you to where you feel like you're running your life, and then we can just be friends. You know, I'd rather have a network of friends than people paying me all kinds of money to tell me their problems that they can't solve and trying to get me to solve them for them. It's not about me creating a situation where I can solve your problems. It's about you creating a purpose and focus on creating and solving your own problems.
Yeah, like Race, when you've coached like probably way more guys than I ever have. I remember when I first got into this space, I'm like, you know, bitching about my ex. She did this to me. She did that to me. She did this to me. And
it's fun, but it's a victim mindset.
It is. And when you find out the information, like, oh yeah, there's a lot of guys that have been through this, and a lot of guys that women like, then it's just like, oh, well, see, I'm not the problem. They're the problem because all these other guys experienced it too. One thing I would say is that for me, speak personally, I can say this just based off of my own experience. I am part of the problem. I created an environment where that behavior seemed acceptable or seemed like less of a risk. There was no loss if they did that behavior because my response was obviously beneficial to it. Like, so Ray, do you ever get like the guys like just sitting there bitching about it, and as soon as you tell them like, hey, but what did you do? What role did you play? Do they get defensive? Do they feel like you're attacking them? When you kind of hold them in the air?
No one likes to hear the truth about themselves, you know. And I mean, I go through a lot of, like you do, the one session guys, because I'm not here to tell them, you know, you're the greatest person in the world, and you know she shouldn't have done that to you. Because if they're coming looking for something, I usually find people or they fall in categories. One is they have no experience with life. Two, they have no purpose in life. And three, they've never held themselves accountable.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
is it that like, you know, we see a lot of these guys like want women to get their comeuppance and they want to hold these ladies accountable, but
making them a victim.
Yeah, but what about their responsibility for holding themselves accountable for allowing themselves to become a victim? You know, like where's that part?
Oh, we don't do that here. We don't do that in this case. Yeah.
Look, we want accountability. We're demanding accountability, but then we are refusing to take accountability.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the
It's also
conundrum that a lot of
kryptonite for
guys
men.
find themselves in. They don't. I said it in the chat on Rule 0. I said most women will respect you if you act respectable. But a lot of guys, they spurg out and they don't act respectable. You've seen a couple of guys in the chat. One got banned before. Why? Because he's ad hominem attacking. He's not addressing the points. Same as my #1 fan telling me how loud I am, even though I get compliments all the time on how awesome my mic is. But he wants to sit there and try to get under my skin and not even address any of my points. Oh, I'm loud. Oh, well, I'm glad I hurt your ears. You know, apparently the truth hurts.
You do kind of yell sometimes, though, but it's fun. You're the yelling Viking son.
Exactly. Everybody loves it. Once again, I can't be gaslit when I have a majority telling me I'm doing good and they can validate that, and then not on some ego bullshit. They're actually, see, I didn't start giving advice. Thor invited me here. Why? Because he saw what I was doing behind the scenes here and there. He saw that people were coming to me not because I was trying to tell them how to solve their problems. I would just matter of factly say, yeah, I had this problem and I fixed it. And then guys would be like, oh shit, I had a similar problem. How would you solve this problem? And I became one of the go-to guys in the Fresh and Fit community. Like I said, the Nebuchadnezzar, and I was teaching guys Kung Fu, how to get their mental on point by getting their physical on point, eating less, eating healthier, and all the other things expand out from there because you're taking personal control and accountability for yourself and your ego.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that like, oh, if you guys start taking action, that you won't experience some losses. That in the process of becoming a man with a dominant masculine presence, that you won't still get some L's, that women won't still, do you wrong or whatever.
Dude, Glenn, just to go off of that, if you think you've gotten your heart broken before, or you think you've seen the worst, when you go on this journey, you're going to see even more. But it's through that journey and how you handle those poor scenarios or shitty scenarios that is what makes you a man. It's what gives you or that proof of that dominant masculine presence. Everybody thinks that, okay, once you learn, then everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows. No, you're going to have some of the same shitty experiences, and you're going to have some worse ones. But it's about giving you the tools so that when those worst ones come, you can just move right on forward.
Well, I think most of them will find out they're the cause or the reason why they're having those shitty experiences. Because
thank you. It's internal.
Right. And because most people don't have, they don't have boundaries that really gives them an opportunity to weigh their value. And when you start developing boundaries, you start understanding what your value is. It's a big wake up call for a lot of them, and they walk away from it saying, why did I ever do that in my life? And it is a big attack on the ego, because they've cruised along saying, I'm okay, you're okay. And then they find out, no, you're not okay, because it makes me feel this way. And that's why I tell people, when you start holding frame and stuff like that, you're going to start developing boundaries. Because, if you allow people to attack your boundaries, it eats away at your self-confidence, eats away at your competency, eats away at your happiness, because you're living for someone else. You're not living for yourself. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with having a relationship and living within a marriage and respecting, her place in your life. But that doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice everything for that. That's how guys get zeroed out. They get too dependent on both material and emotional support. And when they lose that, they think that they've lost themselves. No, it's just a thing. It's just a person. If that person doesn't want to be with you, why would you want to be with them?
Exactly. Why would you want to force them to be with you if you don't even like them?
No.
Yeah, that's why I always kind of laugh and cringe when guys say, "If you find the one, never let her go."
Hold on,
like, dude, that's how you end up getting wrecked.
Thor wants to chime in here.
Yeah, I just wanted to cap on to the, if you're going to the Red Pill gas station to fuel up, there is useful information out there, but realize, learn what red flags are, but don't focus on that stuff because it's entertaining, and there'll be guys out there that'll do nothing but red flags and get people involved on, man, here's the checklist. What did you find? Trying to hold the gals accountable for it. And while that's entertaining, what you really want to do at that fuel station is you want to hold them accountable so much as you want to pick up how to recognize shit tests and pass them. This and do it with inspirational leadership style. That is going to be immensely useful in any relationship you have. I mean, that's some of the statistical and the verifiable results that come from the red pill that you can actually put into action. Learn how to pass shit tests. Learn the difference between a fitness test and a comfort test, and learn the techniques that you have to use those. That's the way you would hold a woman accountable without just telling her, you got to do this and that, or bitching about it so you feel better. It's a subtle yet sophisticated way to take that information and use it as we do when you have a dominant masculine presence. You understand, being that inspirational leader, you can do that with anybody. And that will start to put you on the path for enlightened self-interest, where your self-interest actually changes the reality around you, and hers for the better and society's for the better. And that's where we derived here at a DMP and on the dragon ship, that a rising tide lifts all ships. We are the rising tide. We don't want to just come out and say, no, you guys suck, you need to join us, you need to be like this, it's a movement. No, you can pick the fish from that rising tide and share them with folks, biblically speaking.
Yeah. And like what's interesting is like it's a mindset, and it starts with the mindset, and then it moves to an action and how you approach it. For example, like, physicality is one of the P's that you have.
Yeah, it's important. It's probably one of the most important.
Well, there's a difference between physicality and getting jacked to get women.
Yeah, I mean, physicality can even speak to the fact that you're sitting there and you're making excuses for yourself. You're bitching about women. Or if there's something that needs to be done, something small, even something like picking that stuff up, cleaning this, whatever it is. One thing I've learned about physicality is it takes physical actions to just do chores, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be chore play. It can be mowing the lawn. If you can do it now, get up and do it now. It's most likely going to be physical in nature. If you got to walk down and pick up Amazon packages, walk down and pick them up. If you got to walk out to the desert and flip the world off, go flip the world off. Shout out, Aaron.
It's more about a man like using his body as a tool.
Yeah.
And not just an accessory. It's not about just looking jacked and, having the six pack or looking shredded. That's a byproduct. That attention that you get from women is a byproduct of doing the work. And that's not the end result. That's not the reason for it. The reason for it is to master physicality. So you're not just looking strong, but you are physically strong. You're capable. It comes down to capability.
Yeah. And it's important that you don't run out there and say, look how capable I am to anybody.
Yeah.
Or look at my accomplishments, Look, I go to martial arts class, I mean, I know Vidar has stories about physicality that me and him went through as children, but physicality is more than just looking all jacked, although being all jacked's cool. It works good, and it can give you a goal to get at. You should lean into your physicality just by taking physical actions, and then you can move that into the gym bag by the door and get down to the gym, where you can engage in social social practice, but to talking with everybody. Use Rossi's technique of old men talk to anybody about anything. Doesn't have to be the gym, but yeah, taking physical action. Physicality is important there. And a big part of physicality is watching your freaking diet, man.
Yeah.
Watching.
Are you telling me I got to stop eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Because I'm not giving that up right now.
The cereal? Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay, cool.
All right.
The second thing, like another step is understanding the difference between psychology and the victim mentality. There breeds a lot of victimhood mentality in this space. But like Wraith talks about it, Paul talks about it in their books. AJ talks about it in his book. Red Pill guys, they spewed out a lot about frame, but then they can't even keep their own emotions in check. We see them rage at women. They get over triggered by TikTok videos and all this stuff. And that's not masculine psychology. That's being emotional. That's being fragile. Like what Wraith, AJ, and Paul talk about in their books of the essential skill set. It's about emotional durability, competence. It's a mindset that refuses to be shaken. It's not about avoiding women. It's about commanding yourself first so that you can handle any situation without losing your cool. You guys want to expand upon that?
I just have to say there's nothing more dangerous than an emotional man.
Well, I'll add to that. I think that's probably one of the hardest things for men to get under control in this space, honestly, is their emotions, and we all like to think that we're these rational beings and women are the emotional ones, but we're not robots. We have emotions, and men tend to, somehow my camera.
Yeah, while you're getting that ready, I'll just read a little bit. Part of the psychology is you know, when you're feeling those emotions, they are actually painful. You'll experience the pain, and men react to that with anger. That's just how we deal with the emotions. You know, we'll get into anger, which you can turn into action. And so
A
for some
motivator.
men, that's useful. But realize that here's something that I struggle with is actual physical pain. And that will cause random emotions to start to show up, which causes additional pain. So what I've learned to do, and I haven't got it all solidified yet, but you kind of have to lean into the pain. You actually have to lean into it. You can turn that pain into something useful. It's really kind of hard, but lean into the pain. Lean into it with your leadership skills for yourself. It's a tricky place to be, but it is a kind of a bit of a shortcut to getting closer to that enlightened self-interest.
Well, go ahead and
Yeah.
finish your point, and I'll say something.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say about that, a lot of guys don't realize though that their emotions allow them to be manipulated a lot easier. I don't know what's going on with my camera, but you guys can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we just don't want to see your ugly mug.
Yeah, there we go. We'll just shut that off.
Great.
A lot of
You're
guys
so
don't
cute.
realize that if you don't get in control of your emotions, you're much easier to be manipulated, and people will use that to their advantage, including your women. Like, women are master manipulators, and they know it. And the more that they can get under your skin, the more that they can make you feel guilty, the more that they can make you feel however to get you to do what they want, they will do it. And so the more that you can recognize that and get that under control yourself, the better you'll be, not just with women, but in all areas of your life. When you're at work and your boss is like, hey, I need you to stay late, and it's for the good of the team, and we're all family here, and whatever they want to use to try to make you feel a certain way to do what they need you to do, like, you can sort of compartmentalize that and be able to act in your best interest, but you won't ever be able to do that if you're allowing other people to control you using your emotions.
Well, Paul, wouldn't you guys also say that not getting your emotions in check, right? You're not just easily manipulated by women, but you're also easily manipulated by the guru that you're following. Like, if you don't have yourself in check with them, or your emotions in check, then they could use your emotional outrage as a means to continue to support their grift.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily look at it as if you're getting value out of what they're offering, I wouldn't look at it as a grift. but yeah, no, but you're right. They're able to, that's how sales works, right? Sales a lot of people purchase based on emotion, and then they justify with rationalizations after the fact. So good salesmen are good at getting you in your emotions, making you feel your pain, all that kind of stuff, so that you realize, oh man, I need their help to get out of this pain. And so if you are someone that can have that better in check, you will get manipulated a lot less. You'll still buy shit emotionally, though. We're not robots.
Yeah, I'll touch on the marketing thing after Wraith goes.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that, anger, frustration, anxiety, those are all emotions that you save up. It's not like, you just walk in one day and say, I'm going to be angry. There's something that's triggering that. What's triggering it? There's millions of things that could trigger your anger and stuff. But all those emotions come from some unresolved issue that you're dealing with. And it can they bleed into other things that you're trying to deal with. And one of the things I write about in my book about, in Thor, was that there are ways that you can develop processes and stuff to start letting go of that stuff. And one of the things is, when you see all these guys talking about the red pill and stuff, no one's really telling you, hey, if you tried this, I don't give like one way to do that. There's many of them in most of the books that I've written, and it's but you've got to work on getting rid of that anger. You got to work on not being over emotional. You got to find out why that happens and what triggers it. And way too many guys don't want to experience that, because it's just as painful to experience it, to get rid of it, or to learn why you're that way, as it is to go through the emotions of doing it every day. And sometimes it's even more devastating, because you realize that, that trauma or that anger and stuff is there because you didn't react or act on something that you should have acted on. So
Yeah.
you save that up.
Yeah, I think there's a difference also between presence and a persona. Like we're not telling anybody to act something that they're not. It's not a script. Presence is not a script that you rehearse and you just become.
Well,
You have to rehearse it, you have to become it, but it's not not congruent. It has to be congruent with who you are. Your presence is congruent with your actions.
but guys, everybody don't get too excited about that. It's a matter of practice to make perfect. You lean into that. You lean into that part of what you want it to be, and you find the skill set to be there as your identity. It becomes your authentic self. That's what DMP is all about. It becomes being able to project that with leadership skills. And you could literally look at that and go, so I feel like I'm faking it because I'm doing these physical manifestations in front of the mirror to learn how to control my face or my countenance or my voice from how do I do voice control, like Wraith and all those things. I'm just copying them. So I'm actually a fake. No, you're not.
That's not faking it.
You're actually practicing those skills so it can become part of your identity.
Mhm.
Having an identity that's authentic to you is really important. I mean, guys that have transformed their identity online, are they fake? Hey, if I want to be a rock star and I look like a rock star and act like a rock star and do rock star things, am I not a rock star?
No.
You would be if you fake it enough and nobody can distinguish the difference and you believe it and you take it like, I mean,
But if you don't ever play it, if you don't
play
play a band, then you're not a rock star. You just look like it, right?
That's not what I'm saying. But if you're doing that and you're acting like those things, maybe you're not playing a band, but you're actually creating and writing music, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be that. It can be something else. How about a race car driver? And then you get yourself a nice car and then you drive the car to the track, all that stuff. You're being like that. If you can fake it and nobody distinguishes it, and even you don't, and you're practicing these skills, guess what? You're actually it. And now you can take that identity and project it using that inspirational leadership style that's outlined in a DMP. And that actually gives you the step-by-step methods that you would take to do that. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you have a lot of confidence and physicality to take action. Take the action. Oh, I don't want to look in the mirror at myself and see how I'm dressed. I mean, you need to be able to project this identity or power as well as an influence. You need to look like you can influence people and act like it and move like it. And once you do that enough, it becomes a part of who you are. And some guys will lean too far into it and they'll get Dunning-Kruger and then they'll get that effect. And I think you should do that, but they'll get that effect like, I'm actually a faker. It's like, no,
well, because
you're not. You're practicing those skills. And if you do that enough, it sets itself into your subconscious mind, which, I really appreciate what Paul has written about, because that really gives you that paradigm. That's who you are, and you've become it. And now that you've become it, you live it, you breathe it, you express it with your leadership skills of the inspirational type. Don't go down that servant leadership road. That's not going to serve you. You just end up being Mr. Nice Guy. And, Paul can tell you all about being Mr. Nice Guy because she won't F you again. You don't go down that road. You become something. Yeah, that would be the ultimate skill, is to adopt that identity and integrate it into your leadership skills.
Well, nobody's born a football player.
Let me simplify that. Okay. Your beliefs, or let me say, your behavior is your belief, is an external representation of your belief.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you change your behavior, you're going to change your beliefs.
Yeah. And if you don't actually change yourself internally, yeah, you're going to feel like you're faking it because you are. You're
Exactly,
not
you're not
training to
congruent.
be better. You're training to be fake. And if you train to be fake, eventually you're going to get exposed. And you see a lot of guys do this. And they suffer the fallacy of thinking that they've made it. Oh, if I learn enough book smart stuff and I do take enough actions, all of a sudden I'm at the top and I can't do any better. You just lost the game, sir. You
Yep.
just lost because you sat out, right? That the issue is, and I want to go double back real quick before I lose my train of thought on it about the marketing thing, because the original premise was like, why do the red pill content creators do this? Well, if you understand two principles of marketing, you'll understand why they're able to retain the attention. And one is basically humanizing yourself, right? If the audience views you as less than them in some way, or that you've struggled more than them, a lot of people that will give you that attention, they will commiserate with you. They'll come in and they'll listen to you bitch and moan, right? Then the other thing is that they do is make it an us versus them. There's always a boogeyman, and it'll be shadow banning or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter what terminology they use. There's always some invisible boogeyman that they never name. It's like, just like those red pill guys. You know, the other side always says that, those red pill guys, but they never name any names. So that way you can't actually look up an example and get context. It's just an ad hominem attack, right? It doesn't actually accomplish anything other than retaining their audience, because it raises that attention and now people are hooked. Oh, well, this guy, he doesn't think he's better than me, so I like him. Oh, this guy, he struggled with the same things as me. He's human, right? So they go down that rabbit hole. Oh, yeah. Call her a bitch, you know? Yeah, you MGTOW guys, you know, if we could just all band together like women, we could change the world. Just like, you don't hear yourself. And that's kind of the issue that a lot of these guys get locked into, is that ego defense. They don't want to change. They want the world to change for them.
Yeah. Hey, Huds, can we go to commercial and super chats? Can we hit that real quick?
Yeah, let's go ahead and show appreciation to those who appreciate us. Very much appreciate it. So, Anson Coles or Anson Knowles. Well, Jesus, I can't even speak today.
His name is Anson Knowles.
Anson
Knowles. Chicks with hairy armpits.
Thank you. $10 super chat. Anger, your last emotional, okay, I can't speak. Let me try again. Anger, your last emotion after not allowing yourself to feel other emotions you have. You can actually sit in the discomfort of all emotions you feel and never get to anger. It is tough but beneficial. That's interesting. Yeah, I think anger can be the most dangerous emotion. What do you guys thought?
It can also be the most beneficial emotion too. It just depends on how one chooses to utilize it.
It really can. I imagine that Vidar has some childhood stories of us where it doesn't matter where you are or how it would involve physicality when we were younger. I'm sure he'd like to share some of those. Coming up, and it was definitely in this physicality.
Are you saying that you beat him up a lot when you were growing up?
Well, I'll let him speak if he can.
He's too busy fingering a pussy.
Yeah, probably. We'll let him cut in later. It's not a problem. But yeah, physicality is important in the way you project physicality. You don't have to be the biggest or the strongest at all. That kind of leadership and strength.
Yeah, I think I'm going to save those to share on this thing we got coming up. And but yeah, there's lessons to be learned there for sure.
Okay.
You know,
absolutely. And I want to just keep going on with what Anson with another $5 super chat. Very much appreciate it. If you are angry, it is usually because you haven't done needed work in your life that you should have done. An angry man is a weak man. And 100%, that's where I thought you were going with these comments here. I notice it for myself. When I get angry, it's usually because I'm upset with because the only times I get angry nowadays is really just getting angry in my relationship. And I get frustrated because I'm thinking about, like, I failed as a leader in some way. That's what bothers me the most.
Same with me.
Yeah.
And see, what you guys are talking about is more of an action, right? It's an internal critique of yourself. You know, it's more like, see, I always tell people like, hey, so when somebody tells you something, the information they give you, and you're angry, you have to ask yourself 2 questions. One, are you angry because it's true and it's about you, and that means you're angry at yourself? Or 2, are you angry because what they're telling you is false and it's a lie and they're giving you misinformation? They're trying to sway you somewhere else. Because if it's true and it's something that has to do with you, you could actually address it. You have the power to fix that and change that. That doesn't have to be a problem anymore.
Guys, at 12 o'clock, I have physical therapy. I believe we're close. So
yep,
I'm just going to let you do the talking for me because I can't see the chats anyway. Invite her can too. And you guys carry on.
All right.
And if she gets done in the next half hour, I'll be back. All right.
Sounds good.
Skull, you savages in the chat. Love to chat with you. And
Make sure she gives you a happy ending, Thor.
It's my first wife. She's doing my physical
Misogyny.
Just so you guys know.
Well, you go have fun with that, Thor.
It will help, especially
definitely
with the pain. Yeah,
definitely. So, like I always say, like, look, you got to ask yourself, okay, why am I angry about this? I'm angry. Am I angry because it's true and it's a bad look on me? Okay, then I could address it. I have the power to fix this. I don't have to be fat anymore. I don't have to be broke anymore. You know, I don't have to be depressed if I don't want to. There's things that I could do to take action to address that problem. Or are we angry because Paul is going around telling everybody he is the world's manosphere champion when he got his ass kicked?
I have the belt.
Like
Okay.
he got his ass kicked. You know, just, he has the belt due to
Still have the belt.
Yeah,
That's
Glenn,
that's all that matters.
Glenn, you're just I don't know.
You
You're
know,
getting a little too emotional about it.
Going back to something that Anson said though about not experiencing those other emotions, and so anger tends to bubble up because you haven't processed the other emotions. Man, a really good book on that is a book called Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. And it's all about how our positive emotions, we don't hold on to that stuff, right? We just sort of experience it, and then it comes to us and through us, and it's good in the moment. We have joy, and then it's gone, right? But negative emotions like fear and anxiety and, you know, anger and all that kind of stuff, we tend to hold on to it, you know, that resentment, that kind of stuff. We tend to hold on to that because we're actively trying to resist something, you know, but it's so whatever you resist, it persists. And so the key for that is to not hold on to it and treat it like you would like a more positive emotion, right? Where you just feel it and experience it without any kind of judgment, and then just let it flow to and through you like you would any kind of positive emotion. And you'll find that it's much easier to let that negativity go, and you'll have a lot less problems, a lot less like medical issues, because, you know, a lot of that kind of stuff turns into medical issues later on as you hold on to that stuff. It impacts your physiology.
Yeah, like it manifests physically. You know, like the people that tend to be under like the most amount of stress tend to be the ones that are suffering from the most like health issues.
Yep. It's what happens to the body, and it cannot be overstated how important it is to remove those stressors. Paul, that's such a great point. I actually never read that book. I think I may go ahead and read it just for what you said right there. That happy, good emotions, they tend to be fleeting, whereas bad emotions, they're much more difficult to let go. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Super
You'll like
interesting.
it. It's a really well written book. Yeah. Love it.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
All right, we got one more.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Going back to, I've talked about this before. What Anson was talking about is experience, you know, emotional intelligence, that dreaded word. The motion that usually leads men to anger is what? Frustration.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing more, like you said, Huds, it's nothing more than frustration with the circumstances and not being able to see clearly a solution yet. But the thing is, if you force yourself to become calm and tackle the situation instead of giving in to that anger, you can use that anger to motivate you to start towards something positive rather than dwelling in the negative.
Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. We got one more super chat, and then we're going to go to a commercial break. ZT Den, appreciate the $20 super chat. Anson, I see your 2 super chats and raise you $5. Well, ZT Den, there's something that we do here when somebody super chats $20.
Thank you for the super chats. Boobies bouncing, can't stop that. From the east to the west, viewers, you are the best. Keep those chats coming in, let's do it all again.
Oh, I love
Yes,
it.
God bless her.
Yeah, I think ZT Den doesn't need to look at boobs. She has her own. But
Hey, most women I've met low key love boobs.
well,
Everyone
everybody
loves
loves
boobs.
boobs.
Everyone
Everybody-
loves a good pair of
Yeah, a lot of
cans.
them won't admit to it, but you know that's one of the things that my girl bond over all the time is perving on girls' boobs.
Oh,
You
I
know,
love it. I
you
just
know,
want to say
a lot
one
of
thing here. I'm going to say one thing here, Glenn. Anson, I just want to let you know, it is a cumulative total. So if you do super chat $5 more, you get to see more titties.
Yes. Do it for the titties, guys. Come on.
He'll do it for hairy armpits. He would
Misogyny.
totally do it for girls with hairy armpits. You know, we hear a lot of times in this space that, you know, women are the problem. Women are the problem. It's these women. Okay, then what's the solution? Avoid them?
Well, that,
You know, like
well, that's
go monk
that
mode?
goes back to what you were saying about TFM, right? He was saying how if we could change society and change the women, then maybe he'll put the doll down and go out. And it's like that's where a lot of these black pill and MGTOW guys, their minds at is like, well, why even try until we change other people? Instead of realizing you can't change other people, you can only change yourself, right? And so I think a much more effective strategy is more like what Huds was saying, which is you basically think globally but act locally, right? How do you implement this stuff in your own interpersonal relationships to where other people start seeing that, you know, you start raising your kids a certain way, your kids start picking up on this stuff, and next thing you know, generationally the bullshit gets filtered out and we have more people with a dominant masculine presence out there.
Yeah, it's like a man with problem solving skills. You know, they see the obstacles, but they find a way to get through. They don't get stuck in the loop of, you know, blaming the problem or whatever, like pointing out the problem over and over and over again. They figure out what works and they adapt. You know, if it's women, you know, if she's too difficult, he either corrects it or he walks away. He's not bitching about it. He's more based on solution based rather than the problem. He's like, okay, I see the problem. I get it. That's a problem over there. How am I going to address this problem is more concerning rather than pointing out the problem.
Yeah, well, then that's why I never went MGTOW back in the day, because I saw the men's rights movement come about. I saw the fallout turning into a MGTOW, and the thing is that I looked at the advice back then. I was you know, had a front row seat for all that, but I was in a relationship already, and all they kept telling me is just leave her. Just leave her. And I'm just like, but the thing is, she's showing good qualities, and I just can't figure out why I can't get her to follow through. Can anybody explain this to me? Can anybody explain this? No, just get rid of her. Just get rid of her.
Next.
Yeah, just swipe. You know, just get rid of her. And that's why I never went MGTOW, because like they're not offering any solutions. So I'm like, how can you say you have the solutions and you're offering no solutions other than just cut and run? I'm like, this is cowardly. There has to be a solution that motherfuckers haven't thought of. So I stuck with it. And I made a lot more mistakes and suffered the consequences. But what ended up happening, and after I found this space and I was given real solutions that were actionable, I took action and it changed my fucking life.
That's the kind of comments I get. That's the kind of comments I get in my, you know, the dead bedroom videos on social media is all these guys are like, oh, just drop her, bro. Just dump her and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, you could do that. And you could also lose half your shit, because a lot of guys don't realize, like, you know, I'm talking about married men. They've got years of investment. They've got shared assets. They've got children. They're going to have to pay fuck tons in alimony. They're going to have to, there's a lot of consequences to just dump her, bro, you know, that they're not putting into consideration. And when it's sometimes it's a very simple simple solution. You've just got to change your behavior in these ways to be more attractive. She liked you once, like, let's get back there, right? Like, there's no reason to throw all this away just because some angry guys on the internet. But it's like just quitting is what society's come to. That's why our divorce rates are so high. It's just so easy to. Everyone has a whole lot of quit in them these days.
Yeah, because they just want to play the victim. But anyways,
it's also like it's interesting. Is like I see guys that have no problem getting girls, but their problem is maintaining the relationship, and they want to say it's because women are hypergamous. That's not necessarily always the reason. It could be that you are lacking in having the skills that you need to maintain that relationship.
Well, if you think about it, if hypergamy is she's trying to lock down her best possible option for herself, and she originally thought maybe this guy is her best possible option, and then you turned out to not be her best hypergamous option because you don't fucking lead the relationship like you're supposed to, then maybe that's you, bro. Like,
exactly.
We have a burden of performance. It's Breifeld's law.
And that's why, like, maybe you should then become the best option if you have let yourself go. But this is a perfect transition to your newest book, Paul. Get Her to Fuck You Again.
Are you tired of the dead bedroom? Wondering what happened to the passion, the connection, and the spark? Well, here's your answer. Introducing Get Her to Fuck You Again, a red pill guide to fix a dead bedroom, now on Amazon. This isn't about manipulation or tricks. It's about real strategies that work. If your wife has stopped being intimate with you, it's not because the love is gone. It's because the attraction is gone. And that's fixable. This book will teach you the skills to lead your marriage, rebuild your confidence, and become the man she can't stop thinking about. 3 reasons to get this book. 1. It breaks the cycle. You'll learn how to stop doing the same things that are killing her attraction and start doing the things that reignite it. 2. It's practical and proven. With clear, actionable steps, you'll build yourself into the man you were always meant to be. 3. It works for men like you. Paul Bauer has helped hundreds of men just like you fix their dead bedrooms. And now, it's your turn. Don't let another day go by feeling frustrated and disconnected. Go to Amazon right now and buy Get Her to Fuck You Again. Read it, apply it, and watch your marriage transform. The connection isn't gone forever. You just need the roadmap to get it back. And this book is it.
I don't know about you guys, but every time I hear an AI voice say "fuck," it is it's kind of humorous to me.
It is.
AI voices are funny.
So the next P I want to hit on is prosperity, right? Because if you guys haven't noticed that we've actually been hitting the talking points, the talking points I'm talking about right now have been all the 7 Ps that Thor writes about in his book. Money is important. There's no doubt about it. But too many times it seems like guys pursue success or they pursue, wealth like for status alone, or it's a way to show that girl that left you what she's missing now. Like, look at me, bitch. I'm a high value man. I got the Bentley, I got the Hummer, I got the Bugatti. Or they're using it to like flex on another dude. Yeah, bro, you got this, but I got this. Like, it's like that's not prosperity. That's still insecurity.
Right. Because life is multifaceted. It's not one-dimensional. When you put too much emphasis on money, now you're making life one-dimensional, and that's not how it functions.
Yeah, like prosperity is about abundance in all areas. Okay, that means, yes, financial, but it's also in your relationships, not just your intimate ones, but your friendships, right? It's about your health. Prosperity is about, do you have opportunities? Do you have endless opportunities because of your network? Like, that's prosperity. Prosperity is not entirely just financial. That's one facet of it. It's one aspect of being prosperous. But you can be prosperous in that area, but completely broke in other areas. And prosperity is encompassing all those areas. You know, so it's not being it's more about being the guy that creates wealth and brings up others, like a rising tide that lifts all ships, not just, you know, flashing your status or what you got on social media. There's more to it than that.
Well, I tend to
Go ahead,
find if you have, say, like you're chasing money, and that becomes your outlet to self-validation. You have the you have that lack of self-validation is the reason you're chasing money. You have that lack all the way across the board, whether it's in your relationships, uh, your money, all the money, muscle, game, and frame. It's spread out equally. It's just you're focusing on one thing, trying to improve the one thing, hoping it improves everything else that doesn't.
Yep. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the situation with Tom Brady directly disproves the black pill right there, because their whole thing is looks, money, status. Tom Brady's got that in spades, but yet she still fucked the trainer.
Yep, because he had no frame.
Exactly. He was too focused on his work, didn't give her enough attention. She got bored and fucked somebody that was giving her attention. That's simple.
Yeah, and
He allowed it.
He was only prosperous in one or two areas, you know, football and wealth, financial, you know, but obviously he wasn't prosperous in his relationship. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, if you watch the roast that he did recently, he's a very charismatic guy. He's funny as fuck. He
Yep,
knows
yep.
how. He's got good mouthpiece. He's got game. But once again, having game doesn't give you frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got no frame whatsoever, which is what's is so interesting about him, because he has every, like, if you think about like your
Well,
skill
just
level,
that he's the
0 to
contextual
100.
alpha. That you could be the guy and be contextually an alpha in certain areas, but also not be an alpha in other areas.
Yeah, yeah. And what I'm saying with that, like the whatever, all of it, like he's like maxed out on almost every single benchmark except frame. Frame's like a 0, and it completely screwed him over. And that's what is so fascinating. Like, I personally think that game is most important, but I'm starting to see how frame is really most important. I think, at least for dating, at least for starting it, game is what opens the door, and game can open the door in all areas of life. But frame is maintaining. So I don't know. I bounce back and forth on which is most important. I still kind of think the mouthpiece and game is most important. But for long-term happiness, frame definitely is. And it's fascinating how somebody who's so successful and so maxed out in so many areas of life completely falls apart based on just one aspect of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I say game is basically your ability to navigate social situations and conversations,
Social skills.
and then frame is how you respond and
Mhm.
how you cope with those situations when things don't go your way. How do you respond?
Yeah. That's a
Well,
good way.
but it's more than that, because it's also in any long-term relationships, it's also the basis for how you're being perceived by other people. So it's not that's one of the things. Like, too many people go into it and say, well, and like Thor was saying, if you fake your frame, you're gonna get found out. That's why
Mhm.
the game guys don't hold on to women for long term. All right.
Yeah.
I would
They're
rather
able to
be
attract them, but they can't maintain it.
I would rather be the man I am
Mhm.
and have people accept me for who I am authentically. And the women that I bring into my life, they accept that.
Yeah.
And I don't worry about if I act if I am me every day and she doesn't want to be with me, that's her problem. Because I don't change. I'm not pretending to be this. I'm not pretending to be that. This is me. So when you talk about frame, it's actually the most important, because it controls how you feel about yourself, how you project yourself, and that's going to determine all those outliers. Like, if you've got a good frame, you don't have to be a bodybuilder. You can have the swimmer's body and be fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a millionaire. You can make a couple $100,000 a year and be fine. There's no requirement that you be the top 1%. If you're making $200,000 a year, you're in the top 5%. But it also gives you the recognition that, I'll give you an example. Someone told me I want to have 5 girlfriends, and they all have to be 10s. And my question, when I asked the question is, what makes you think you deserve that?
Thank you.
Okay. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, the number of women that are going to put up with you sleeping with 4 other women, okay, is about 1% of the population of women. All right. So that means you have to be the 0.5% man. And you're nowhere close to that yet. I'm not saying you'll never be that. But, set your goals for, hey, I just want to have a relationship right now if that's what you want. But, you can't put on the vision board, I want to be a top 0.5% man, which means you're making anywhere from $15 to $20 million a year, and expect women to accept that when you're not.
So you're saying you're like Elon Musk?
Yeah. Like I said, it's just, you have to understand the limitations of where you're at in order to get where you're going.
Yeah. This goes to power, right? And I think a lot of guys misunderstand what power is. Power is not dominating women or making them submit or controlling their every move. That's not real power. That is like using fear and trying to flex it as masculinity. Okay. Real power is about the ability to influence. It's having the ability to shape reality. It's the force of your will, your decisions. It's your ability to lead, not just over women, but over your businesses, your family, over your own damn life. Right?
Even your pets.
Even your pets. It's about making things happen, not just about talking about how unfair the world is and flexing on it. Power is, are you charismatic? Can you inspire someone to change and choose your way rather than forcing them to go your way? I don't want to force anybody to do anything. Okay. If you choose it, what Glenn is saying is the way I want to go down, cool. That's your choice. I want you to make that choice.
So
now,
power is
the power to influence.
Yeah, so that's what it is. It's influence. So really, power is your ability to influence others.
Well, it's that dominant masculine presence, that ability. You're not dominating others, you're dominating yourself.
Yep.
You're commanding respect, not demanding respect.
Yes.
And a lot of guys don't understand the difference. They think that it's because somebody mentioned in the chat about most people in the manosphere are dog people. Well, congratulations. I'm a dog and cat person, and I can train both. And I don't do it by training them. I do it the same way with my girl. I incentivize them to do better by holding the standard on myself first.
Yeah. So you've heard me say it, you've heard Thor say it 1,000 times. Being dominant is not being domineered.
Exactly. Like, women love a man that's in control, but they don't love a controlling man.
Right.
Yes.
There's a big difference. A guy that's in control is in control of his life, over his actions, what he allows and doesn't allow in his life. He's not trying to control other people. He's literally only controlling himself and what he allows in his world. That's it. Yeah. If she doesn't, he's not trying to force her to do something that she doesn't want to do. He'd rather her move on and go do what she wants to do than trying to, micromanage somebody else's life.
And if you look at it in your relationships, in your business relationship, if you're a leader, are they following you, or are you pulling or pushing them along?
Yeah.
Okay. In your private relationships, is she with your wife, girlfriend? Is she there because she wants to serve you, or is she there because you're making her serve
you? Yeah.
And in your friendships, are they there because they feel safe and secure in that friendship, or are they there because they're afraid that you're going to do something to them you know, from a social standpoint, if they're not in that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you think of the people that, because I saw it a lot more like growing up, especially when I was younger, like sucking up to the rich kid or the successful kid or like whatever else just to get in, or sucking up to the popular kids just to get into parties and get into the group. Yeah, it's interesting dynamic. I kind of lost my full circle train of thought there, but yeah, like are
Well,
you?
it's that people going for that popularity contest thing. They kiss up. They're the yes men, right? The baby yes men. You know, they're looking for that clout, and they think they can leech it off of somebody else rather than commanding that respect themselves. Like I was friends with plenty of rich and trust fund kids, and I didn't get any money from them because I never asked, right? And that's why I was friends with them, because I never made the relationship about money. So this is why I had a few friends of mine even tell me in the past, like, yeah, I don't normally admit this to people, but I want you to know, like, what you said actually kind of hit home for me about like trust fund kids, because I don't like to people to know about this, but I got a trust fund, and it does put a lot of bullshit pressure on you because everybody expects you this, that, and the other thing to give out free money and be this degenerate. And it's just like, no, I just want to run my business and be successful on my own terms, you know?
Yep.
So I got the privilege of knowing that because I did Homeboy a solid and got him into the FNF studio. And I didn't do it because I knew he was rich. I did it because he was a homie and he'd been helping out. Right. And we were friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's it's so crazy. I'm just thinking back to the popular kid type of thing, like growing up. All of the kids that were popular and they weren't commanding the respect, but you felt like you had to give it to them so that you could benefit from it as well. I remember the one kid who was most popular in high school is a nobody nowadays and completely fell off the moment he went to college. The guy who was most popular in college completely fell off and is an absolute nobody now. Like they didn't command respect. It just was situational that made it so that others had to respect them. But then when things change and things become a little bit more complicated, we grow up, different stages of life. Well, they never really had it. They just had it there. Like, okay, you were like the king of the frats for 4 years. And then once those 4 years ends, well, there's no frat anymore. And then he just completely fell apart. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah. And this brings me to like the last P, passion and compassion, right? We hear a lot of times in these spaces and in these circles around here that we intermix in, never love a woman, that love is weakness. Like, that's not strength. That's speaking from trauma.
Hey, I don't love you because that's weakness. Get back in that room.
A guy with DMP is
How
both
dare
passionate
you.
and compassionate. You know what I'm saying? Like, a man who feels deeply but is ruled by logic, not his emotions. He doesn't shut off his heart, but instead he, out of fear of getting hurt, but he just doesn't let that fear control him. Like you can, most of you guys are all in relationships, right? But if you're red pill, you're not supposed to trust these hoes. Don't love these women. How dare you? Like, no, it's not about that. It's okay. You're not being ruled by your emotions. You do love. You love deeply. You are compassionate to others, but you just don't let your emotions dictate your life. There's a difference. And anybody that says, "Oh, just don't love," just then what they're doing is they're trying to avoid the potential of hurt because they're not strong enough. They're not able to control their emotions. They don't have that emotional durability yet. So they have to keep everybody they got to keep it at bay because they're not strong enough yet.
Yeah, they low-key know that if she can control your emotions, that she can control you. So what do? They turtle up. They cower.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're not gaining emotional strength then. And the thing is, women always pick up on it. It's the same thing with money. If it doesn't matter how much money you have, if you're bad with money and she hangs out with you long enough, she's going to see you're bad with money and knows that the clock is ticking and that you're not a secure lifestyle, right? Because you never learned how to swing the hammer correctly. So you're not building a house. You're just fucking hitting things with a hammer, metaphorically speaking. And this comes down to having that emotional intelligence, again, to control your own frame. You don't
Yep.
have to control her to get her to follow you, to comply with what you want. That was part of the mistake that I was making. I thought I had to convince her. I thought, I had to win her over and stuff like that, try to fix her. No, all I had to do is fix myself and tell her, comply or goodbye. I'm going to win with you or I'm going to win without you. And oh, that sounds cold. No, I'm not being cold to her. I love her to death. But the thing is, if she's not helping me, she's hurting me, and that hurts us all. So I have to just give her that choice. And once again, I'm not giving ultimatums. I'm not powerless here. I can walk away at any time. I always have reserved that right. And I've always reserved that right for her, even though she didn't want it. One of the things I did correctly. I always left the door open. I never tried to hold on to her. And that's the mistake that many men make. That's why us guys here on this panel are in, most of us, successful long-term relationships. Why? Because we fucked up, we figured this shit out, and now we act correct.
Yeah. Paul, you're a compassionate guy.
Am I?
You're
Depends on what day of the week.
trust me, I know
he's
about some four-legged creatures that you're very compassionate about.
He's as
Yeah.
compassionate as he is modest.
That's true. I am very modest. I am probably one of the most modest men on this panel.
Yep. Paul and I are both the most modest men on this panel.
Yeah, I would say I try to be compassionate. Like, I'm not a robot, even though we're all alpha males on this panel, you know what I mean? But even alpha males, we're compassionate sometimes, sure.
What's
Yeah,
funny
look
is
at
like
alpha. This is
here's the
alpha.
thing is like this is funny about like the whole alpha male topic when you bring this up. A man with DMP is not concerned whether he's alpha or not. He just is who he is, and he owns who he is. He just exists. Like he is him.
Well, that's the and that's sort of the joke, right? Like like a real alpha male isn't going around telling everyone how he's a fucking alpha male. Like, people just know because he already has the dominant masculine presence. He doesn't have to fucking tell it. It's like a king doesn't have to announce to everyone that he's a king.
Hey,
And if he does,
I'm the king.
Yeah.
Hey,
if he has to tell everyone,
king.
then he's clearly not the king, right?
Exactly. When you do that, you make yourself more look like the court jester than the king.
Yeah. No one takes you seriously.
Exactly. So, I'm gonna wrap up like my final thought here, and then give you guys the floor. But guys are starving for leadership. Let's face it, there's a lot of guys out there that are starving for good leadership, and
Women
they want
too.
direction. They want direction, not just more reasons to be pissed off. That's why what Thor presents in a dominant masculine presence, and what each of us have written about or are going to be writing about, one of the 7 skill sets, are the next evolution to this space. It's not enough just to be red pilled anymore. Okay, it's not enough just to have the information, because the information without action is what?
Mental masturbation.
Exactly. So, we're not trying to leave guys stuck in a loop of blaming women, avoiding relationships, or trying to fake their status. What Thor presents in the 7 skill sets, it gives you the ability to become undeniable. So really the question that we need to ask ourselves, but also our audience, is like, are you here just to complain? Or are you here really to learn how to develop mastery over yourself? And then that's the real question that we need to ask ourselves. Are we here to bitch and moan? Or are we here to make moves? Or are we here to make excuses? It's that simple.
Yeah, Glenn, I want to expand on that. I think that's what we kind of get lost on, because people like Rollo, the big focus is on this is all a praxeology and it's just studying human behavior and intersexual dynamics. Yes, that's what Red Pill is. It's that study. It's like when you come to the Red Pill space, it's like stopping at the library, in the same way that it's like stopping at a gas station. You stop at the library, gain some knowledge, and then you move on. And I think that that's kind of where a lot of content creators fail is not providing those next steps. And that's what I really appreciate talking with you guys about, because that's what we're trying to do. It's like, okay, you got the information, now what? And instead, most red pill content is just about the information. But you can talk about the information all day, but like, then what? And that's what we're trying to do, is the then what?
I think that's one of the reasons why Rich Cooper's book, The Unplugged Alpha, did so well, was because he basically took what Rollo was writing. And Rollo's right. Like Rollo's like the red pill is a praxeology. It's not about prescriptions. It's about descriptions, right? Like this is the way life is. What you do with that information, that's up to you. And which is great, but some people are like, awesome, what do I do with this? Right. So they need that kind of guidance. And that's where I think Rich Cooper's book did so well, was he took what Rollo put, he basically condensed it down into easier to digest information. And then he also added actionable information on top of it. So one thing that guys need to understand is that actionable information isn't necessarily red pill, right?
Yeah.
But it's taking the red pill descriptions and giving you something to do with it, right? And you'll find that some of these guys out here on the internet, the actionable information they give you might work for you. Sometimes it might not. It tends to work better for certain people than it does other people. You've got to find a content creator that's giving you actionable information that resonates with you, and that you're willing to go out and test some of the stuff they're talking about and see if it works for you or not.
Well, don't you also have to like find the content creator that's providing you actionable information that is like aligned with your goals? Like,
definitely. Yeah, because
you have to find somebody that's giving you the information that you want to get there, and this person's giving you the direction to get over here. So you're not going to take this guy's advice, but maybe this guy is going that same direction that you're wanting to be heading in.
Right.
That, and you're right that the red pill is a praxeology. It's about the data, right? But to say that these same guys that are talking about the data don't give prescriptions is bullshit.
Oh yeah, they totally do.
They totally do. I mean, Rollo even did. The 9 iron rules are a prescription. It's a prescription, their solutions, and their best practices. But what
like Rollo always says, is like, it's not just so much to have the information these days, because it's a attention economy. You have to tell people how to feel about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem. But I want to give this example here. This is a chat here. He asked, what are your thoughts on using RP advice to climb the corporate ladder? See, that's a malformed question, in my opinion, because you need going back to, that makes my brain kind of malfunction, because that's like rephrase that to what the red pill is a metaphor for, is the truth. So what are your thoughts on using the truth to advance the corporate ladder?
Yeah.
Like, see, this is kind of the problem, and then we've got this example here. And once again, I'm not shaming you guys or anything like that. This is legitimate feedback that we can give you on this, in the aspect of game. What if you can't talk your way out of a paper bag? Skill issue, right? I'll recommend a book. How to win friends and influence people. How to win friends and influence people.
You get better through experience. So what are you even asking? Random conversations?
No, yes! Huds. I'm giving him some homework. Get Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. This will teach you how to start those initial conversations and actually maintain them. And if you don't want to read it, I'll give you the ultra TLDR of if you want to build rapport with people. Ask 2 genuine questions of interest and then give them a validating statement, and just rinse and repeat, and they'll become your best friend.
Yeah,
that's how you have a basic
you
conversation.
actually don't have to talk your way out. Let them do the talking.
Yeah,
exactly.
People's favorite subject is themselves, so just let them run their mouths about themselves, and they'll love you for it.
Or take an improv class. Improv is great. It makes you have to think on your feet. A lot of guys that go to Toastmasters, a lot of public speakers, actors.
Yeah, and you can practice at work too.
Improv classes. Like, it's important, to be able to think on your feet, to be quick. It's a skill set. It's a skill that I love, and I promote it all the time. I tell guys, hey, go take an improv class.
I tell guys to practice free association, right? Where it's a word game where someone gives you a word, and then the first thing that pops into your head about that word, you blurt it out, And then the first thing about that word, you blurt that out. And I have a client who I told him that to, because one of the things I teach guys is in handling shit tests is agree and amplify. And I found that I had several clients who they couldn't do the agree and amplify very well because they weren't that witty. They weren't quick on their feet. So I said, well, let's do some free association. And I had one guy who's like, how can I do that with ChatGPT? And I said, tell ChatGPT that you want to practice word association and to spit out a random word. That's how you would do that. And then so
when I was going to improv class like years ago, there was this deck of cards, 52 cards, like, you know, regular deck. But each card had like a scene, right? An item and a character. So you pulled this card out and it could be like a doctor at a strip club with a tranny. Like, you know, like how would you react? What is the reaction? What is act out that scene? Like and you just have to do it right on the spot, right? It's kind of like playing. Remember that TV show, Whose Line Is It Anyways?
Yes, that was all improv.
Literally playing that in real life, and it's fun, and it helps you to think on your feet and be quick, and you know, it's useful. Some people may think it's a stupid trait or stupid skill to have, but being able to work on your improv skills, you could be able to go into a room and talk to everybody in there about a different topic, and you know, be able to communicate it and to have this social discourse without looking weird.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, a lot of guys ask me, like, oh, how do I talk to women? I'm just like, how do you talk to people? And a lot of guys, you know, they get stuck on that. It causes their brain to glitch. And it's just like, see, this is the thing. You don't know how to talk to any women like a human being because you don't know how to talk to human beings. And so
or because you don't see them as human beings.
Yeah. To start a conversation with a woman, you just have to start a conversation with a human being. This is it goes back to a mistake that a lot of guys make. It was talked about on Rule 0 about how guys will instinctually start treating the pretty girl better than the ugly girl, right? And they don't realize they're pedestalizing. They just think they're improving their chances, but they're just pedestalizing that woman. And then she sees, oh, this dude, he's just like the rest of them, you know, and you're not separating yourself. You're not becoming that quote purple cow that Rollo talks about. You're not different. You're just the same, but you think you're different because you're focused on her, not what you're doing. Not your side of that package and becoming the best hypergamous choice. You're not presenting a good case. Right? You're fixated on what she wants. And it's like, that does matter. That's 50% of the equation. But the thing is, if that takes precedence over what you want, you done lost the game. And I've seen plenty of RP guys do the same bullshit. That's why it's like when guys want to say like, oh, I don't like having women around. I actually think that's laughable personally. Right. I don't want women on the panel. I don't want women in the Discord. And it's just like, for me, I noticed something very interesting, 3-4 years of being in the Fresh and Fit Discord, is that once again, we're talking about this lack of emotional self-control. An easy way for me to figure out if a guy's faking it or not is just put him around women and see what he fucking does. None of these guys have frame, so they always buckle. It takes usually, like even the tough guys, it usually takes about 3 weeks before they start doing some dumb shit, either trying to call the girl out or trying to DM her or some dumb shit like that and riz her up. And it's just like they show their true colors because they have no emotional control. And they see pretty woman, oh no, or even an unattractive woman, they're like, that's my shot. Scarcity mindset. So they tell on themselves through their actions.
Yeah. It's funny when you talk about the actions, just in thinking about the first trip to Miami where I got first class together. So it's all these guys that we're doing all the Zoom calls and all coming from like MLD's group, and like everybody doesn't want to look weak. And when we first got there, we first met up and we went out to dinner. I still have this story saved when Sam shared it on actually a Dragon ship way back, when I had said to him, you see that girl over there? And it was that girl that was sitting like at a table of all guys, and like, you see that girl over there? I'm gonna go hook up with her. And he's like, okay, yeah, whatever, dude. And then literally 30 seconds later, he looks up from the conversation he's having with the other guys, and I'm making out with her. And he was just like, what the fuck? And it's just so funny when you see people, when you actually meet up with them, And these guys that are acting like they have good game, that's not to say Sam doesn't have game. Sam's just fine. But I'm saying that out of all the people on that trip, a lot of the guys that were talking a big game had nothing to show for it. And they couldn't function in those social environments. It's all about action. So, but hold on. We got one more thing that we need to address here. Anson. A good challenge is starting conversations with total strangers. Talk to everyone you meet in a day. People love getting attention. 100% true. Like, doesn't matter even one statement. Just compliment like what they're wearing or something like that. Like, oh, it's like really cool shirt you got. Doesn't matter.
Or
Just
do what I said before. Ask a question.
Hey. $5. Give me jugs. So we need some jugs first.
Thank you for the super chats. Boobies bouncing, can't stop that. From the east to the west, viewers, you are the best. Keep those chats coming in to fill it all again.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just do that example I gave before. Go up and find something different to ask a question about, and then ask another question, and then compliment them on it. Right? It doesn't even matter the context. If you use that basic framework, 2 genuine questions showing interest in something that they have or that's going on, and then get them into another thing you can ask a question about, and then just validate it. Right? Anybody loves this. Any human being loves this. The CIA uses this trick. A lot of people use this trick. And as my grandfather taught me, the only thing you need to do for any conversation is any icebreaker will do. It can be a joke. It can be a pickup line. It could be something like that. It doesn't need to be, though. It could literally just be, hi, my name is such and such. What's your name? Right? You could literally just ask the name, and then they say something. Oh, that's a pretty name. Then ask this question about like, which one of your parents picked that out? Like, or did they pick it out together? Boom! You just started a conversation and also validated that, like, oh, that's awesome. And you did it like in a couple of seconds, and you've already established basic rapport. Rinse, repeat that 2 or 3 times. You're going to get a number.
Yep. Validation is 100% the cheat code.
Yep. All right, guys. So you know what? We're about that 2-hour mark. So we're gonna go around the horn, say your final thoughts. I'll wrap it up at the end. We'll start with bald guy. The ugly one.
Which bald guy? This one?
Yeah, that guy.
All right. So I don't know. Some people will say, come to the red pill space, get what you need and leave. And I see what you're saying. I like Glenn's analogy about it being a gas station. You still have to go back to the gas station to refill every once in a while, which I think is important with this kind of content, because what I see guys do is they will read this stuff, they'll study this stuff, and just long enough to get their next relationship, and then they fall back on old programming and they ruin things, and then she dumps them, and then they start reading this stuff again. It's like revisit it at least once a year. You don't have to be addicted to it. You don't have to tune into Fresh and Fit every night or whatever. Just revisit it once a year, read a book or 2. Other than that, get what you need and don't spend your time dwelling on it. Tune into the podcast on Monday, though, especially if you are still addicted to that red pill content, because I noticed a particular video was sending a lot of traffic to one of my videos. And so I was looking in the analytics. I noticed that there was a video about how the red pill causes men to hate women and it's ruining relationships. And I was like, oh, we're going to go there. Okay. So I'm doing a video on Monday about how the red pill wouldn't exist if men were happy. And that's based on a article that a guy named Archwinger wrote several years ago. That's pretty good. And so we're going to talk about that on Monday, how it's red pill's not ruining relationships. Like relationships were already trash. It's men are coming here for information on how they can be happier, right? Because they are not happy right now. So tune into that on Monday. Other than that, we did talk about my latest book, but I do have a book in the Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence series, Psychology Paradigm. The latest book that is about to drop is Thor's next book, which is called A Superhero Inside. It's done. I helped him with the formatting. I did the forward for it. And Glenn and Huds got together and they worked on the cover. And so sometime after this, I'm supposed to get with Glenn and we're going to upload it, and it should be available as soon as KDP approves it. But
thanks for the invite to that meeting. Whatever, you can exclude me.
Well, Huds, we don't need to include you. Okay, like you did your job. You gave us a cover to start with. We just had to tweak some things, and now we're ready. Now we're ready to go to market. All right.
I'm excited for it. This book is phenomenal. Like truly, this is like a magnum opus. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
If you guys like Thor's first book, A Dominant Masculine Pledge, you'll fucking love this book. It's really good. It's all about creating an identity for yourself of having a superhero inside, right? You're giving it a name. Like who are you as this superhero? And think about it, like Clark Kent, he's Superman, right? But during the day, he's timid and he's shy. But once he fucking gets that shirt open, he's a badass motherfucker, right? So that's what this book is going to teach you, how to do that for yourself inside. It's kind of a mental fitness exercise, but it's a really fun book. So you guys will love it.
Wraith.
Well, let's see. First off, part of Thor's series is the book on frame, and like I said, there's a big misunderstanding about what frame is, and I would urge any guy that wants to understand it to grab my book. It's not just hey, you need to have frame. There's a lot of exercises and stuff in there. And then I have another book out. I have 6 of them, as you can see. But I want to read something from this book about manhood. It's the 10 Virtues of Masculinity. And this is just one paragraph out of it. Manhood is a balancing act, a dedicated harmony of seemingly opposing forces. It is the strength to stand firm in your convictions, tempered by humility to admit when you're wrong. It is the courage to lead when others falter, balanced by wisdom to know when to follow. It is the discipline to pursue your goals relentlessly, coupled with the compassion to support others in their own journeys. True masculinity lies in the balance, a dynamic interplay of virtues that allows a man to thrive in every aspect of his life. That's what I think that manhood is, guys. And if you're looking from a red pill standpoint, it's a start, but it's not the end. And if you're going to start this journey, you're going to learn more about yourself than you are other people. If you want to reach me, Wraith_Detour anywhere.
That was powerful. That was powerful. I really like that.
We haven't bought the book yet, so you haven't had a chance to read it.
Well, everybody else gave me an author copy, and I can't afford an extra $4.
You cheap son of a bitch.
No, I'm just screwing with you. But yeah, no, I really like that. You will learn more about yourself on this journey than anything. And that's so true. My final thoughts, I really don't have anything else to add outside of what Paul said. Glenn, when we first spoke and we spoke about this metaphor, it just immediately clicked to me. I was like, oh my God, I've never really heard somebody say it that way, because that is the honest truth, is that you come here, you learn the stuff, and then you either stay here in a cycle, which is what Black Pill essentially becomes, or MGTOW essentially becomes, or you move on and improve your life. And then some of those guys, they end up forgetting that gas stations exist, and then they crash and burn and have to come running back after that first relationship. So to understand that it really is, it's just a place to stop by, that you got to fill up your tank, once a week, once a month, whatever it may be, however much you're driving, whatever. Just using that metaphor, that's exactly what it is. So I think this is a really, really good discussion, and I really want to continue on that growth. And that's what we're doing over at Men of Now, my men's community. And so with my men's community, we're doing all the same things we're talking about here, except just more specialized and pushing everybody forward so that we can become champions of our own life and also have other people who are champions of their own lives so we can be champions and win together. It's all about winning together. I do have to say, though, we just closed enrollment for Men of Now. So you'll no longer be able to join that. We will reopen again. We do these in cycles. But still, on the Men of Now YouTube channel, we do have shows every single week. We're doing a series called Thrive in 25. And with that, we're interviewing a lot of different professionals in their field so that we can give you some of that extra information so you can really push forward and slaughter this life and make it your own. But this was a great discussion. If you have any questions for me personally, I always get this wrong. Right here, Instagram, easiest way to reach me. Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, no problem. Tarl.
Yes, sir. So in terms of my final thoughts, I did notice a bit of a pattern in the chat. And I don't want to name and shame people, but I thought I'd share an interesting IQ fact with the class. And that is, if you notice, certain people have difficulties understanding conditional hypotheticals. You give them a scenario and they will respond to it literally rather than metaphorically in terms of a thought experiment. This is something that's indicative of people with IQs of 90 or less. Okay? They literally cannot understand these conditional hypotheticals, even when you explain it to them in detail. They will default continuously back to the literal interpretation of what you said, or their literal interpretation of what you said, because it may not even be the actual literal interpretation. They've made an assumption, and the Dunning-Kruger effect has gotten a hold of them. They think they know more than you do, and so they are going to assert their low IQ opinion over yours and not understand what you were actually trying to help them understand, right? You know, for example, some of the examples that Anson was giving, right? You know, about going out and talking to people. And then the exaggeration comes, oh, talking to everybody, that's a gay guy. No, not if you're doing it correctly. But once again, if you go to an extreme because you didn't understand the metaphor, yeah, you're going to have a bad time. You're not going to understand the advice. You may not have the IQ for it, I'll be honest. But maybe you can check yourself, you know, ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to win? Because right now, what it looks like, what I'm seeing in the chat, I'm seeing a lot of guys falling victim to this apex fallacy and spurging it out and taking things too literally. Yeah, you're not going to be able to deal with women at all in any productive way if you have that attitude and that mindset. That's just a fact. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. That's your red pill for the day. So where you can find me? Well, I'll be honest. I've had a lot of bullshit going on in my personal life that I've had to handle stoically and responsibly. And I've put a lot of my projects on hold, but I'm working on things again. So stay tuned.
Yeah. You know, I just see the comments too. And I like what Commodus is trying to say here. He's talking about presence. Being the guy that has that gravity pull, that people are just drawn to him rather than, you know, him going chasing people around. And that's what actually I write about in my book on one of the 7 skill sets. My skill set is presence. And we go through what presence is, what it looks like, you know, how to cultivate it, what is required. What's the difference between a guy with presence and a guy without presence? How are they treated? We get into all of that. And so you guys go get my copy. It's on Amazon like everybody else's. I really suck at pushing like the book or whatever. But I want to end with this. You know, a guy with a dominant masculine presence doesn't just stay stuck in this endless angry cycle of the red pill. Okay. He takes what's useful and then he moves on. He has a goal. He has a destination that he's trying to get to. He doesn't waste time crying about what other people are doing because he's so focused on doing what he needs to do and dominating the things in his world to be worrying about what other people are doing. So at the end of the day, if you're still whining, if you're still stuck in the same place year after year, you have to ask yourself, are you even really red pill? Have you done anything with this information? Or are you just bitter? So if you want to be a guy that's actually about action, because dominance is action, masculinity is movement. And if you're just sitting around complaining, you know, bro, that's just some female energy. And you got to ask yourself, are you a chick? Or are you a dude and you're trying to make some moves? Are you about action or are you about excuses? That's the only two choices in life when it comes down to it. You either make moves or you make excuses. That's it. And the guys on the panel here, what Thor writes about and what he has cultivated, he's cultivated a room, a space where men can be men of action, to do things, to put things into practice, to move forward, not just to point and complain about something you have no control over. So
yeah, and that was the final point I was going to make. Sorry, I lost my train of thought on it. Was my advice to guys, practical advice, is when you see guys doing that, because you see the comeback that he gave me. Oh, I'm not qualified to speak on the red pill. I'm not qualified to speak on truth that I've learned through blood, sweat, and tears. Really? But you didn't address my point. And this is the point that I'm making to the rest of the audience. When you see these guys spinning their wheels and they're not getting it, just like women, move on. Don't try to teach them. Don't try to keep spinning your wheels, trying to get through to them that you figured something out that they might be able to benefit from, because they're never going to see it.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, guys, this was an absolutely fantastic discussion. Look forward to next week because we actually have something very special for you. But until then,
On wave we fought to war, brotherhood sword to sword, thunder cracked above, in these battles we love. The dragon ship sails through the stormy tide, with raven wings as our guide. Skies of fire and ash, hearts begin to clash, but it's time to rest.